The Journey, a one-act play by Linish Balin. In this play you will meet a sadhu who is wearing a yellow tunic and a saffron covering. Also, you will meet Boy A, dressed in a red t-shirt and dark pants, Boy B, dressed in a yellow t-shirt and dark pants, and Boy C, dressed in a gray t-shirt and dark pants. Man A is dressed in a red t-shirt with suspenders. Scene 1, with the sadhu and Boy A. A boy enters. He walks toward a bench. He hears the sound of a train going by. He covers his ears and begins to cry. He sits on the bench and he keeps crying. A sadhu enters with a small old cloth bundle. The sadhu listens to the boy's cry. Sadhu walks toward the bench. The sadhu sits on the bench next to the boy. He looks at the boy. The boy keeps crying. The sadhu puts his hand under his chin and thinks. He looks at the boy again and smiles. He opens his bundle and brings out a big bubble bottle. He opens the lid and begins to blow bubbles. The boy stops crying. Both the boy and the sadhu look at the bubbles together. The sadhu looks at the boy and smiles. The boy doesn't smile. The sadhu blows bubbles. The boy starts to cry. Sadhu stops blowing bubbles and looks at the boy. He closes up the bottle and puts it inside his bundle. The sadhu thinks. The sadhu turns toward the boy and asks with a gesture, "What do you want?" The boy keeps crying. The sadhu thinks. The sadhu opens the bundle and takes out a piece of food. Shows it to the boy. The boy stops crying. He reaches for the food. And begins to eat it. The sadhu reaches into his bundle and pulls out a bottle of water. He gives it to the boy. The boy drinks the water. The sadhu puts the water bottle back in his bundle. The sadhu looks at the boy. The boy smiles. The boy giggles. The sadhu giggles. The sadhu reaches into his bundle and pulls out a wooden flute and begins to play. The sadhu puts the flute back in his bundle and brings out a hand puppet. He plays the puppet for the boy. The boy keeps crying. The sadhu puts the puppet back in his bundle and he thinks. He reaches into his bundle and pulls out a ball. He shows it to the boy. The boy stops crying. The boy giggles. The sadhu giggles. Both stand up and come forward. The sadhu moves 4 steps backwards. The boy moves 4 steps backwards. They begin to play ball. The sadhu tosses the ball first to the boy. The boy misses. The sadhu reaches down and picks up the ball, and this time he focuses and throws it more slowly to the boy. The boy catches it. The sadhu claps his hand. He gives the boy a small piece of candy. The boy eats the candy and then he throws the ball back. Sadhu catches it and tosses it back. They toss the ball backwards and forwards. This time, the boy keeps the ball, shows it to the sadhu, and runs off, teasing him. The sadhu laughs and runs after the boy.
Hey!
End scene. Scene 2. Same setting, days later. Boy A meets the sadhu once again. Boy A enters the stage. The sadhu enters behind him, carrying his bundle and a small sketchbook. They walk toward the bench. The sadhu and the boy sit on the bench. The sadhu shows a picture to the boy. It is a picture of a hare and a tortoise standing on the start line for running. The sadhu shows the second picture to the boy. It is the hare running very fast, and the tortoise is very far behind. The boy giggles. The sadhu shows the third picture to the boy. It is a picture of the hare sleeping under a tree. The tortoise overtakes the hare. The boy keeps silent. The sadhu shows the fourth picture to the boy. The tortoise is on the finish line. The hare comes from very far behind. The boy laughs loudly. The sadhu laughs and puts his sketchbook on the bench. The sadhu indicates that they are going to wear costumes. The boy pulls out a tortoise mask, and the sadhu puts on his rabbit costume.
Oh!
They stand up and begin to act out the race. When they are both on the starting line, The sadhu indicates by showing his fingers through a count of three that the race begins. The hare leaps ahead. The boy, as the tortoise, moves slowly behind, walking in slow motion. The hare reaches a tree. He looks back and sees the boy so far behind. He leans up against the tree and falls asleep. The tortoise continues to walk in slow motion. The tortoise keeps persevering. He approaches the finish line as the hare sleeps. Just as he reaches the finish line, the hare wakes up. The hare tries to catch up. They both laugh. The sadhu picks up his notebook and his bundle, and they both exit the stage. Scene 3. Same setting, weeks later. Sadhu and Boy A. Boy A enters from the left side of the stage. The sadhu enters from the opposite side of the stage, behind the boy. They both walk toward the bench. The sadhu sits on the bench. The boy sits on the other side of the bench. The boy takes a wooden flute out and begins to play a beautiful piece of music. The boy puts his flute away, and the sadhu begins to speak.
Boy, today I would like to tell you something very important.
The boy pulls out his sketch pad and shows to Sadhu a picture of a gift wrapped box.
No, you may not understand what I am going to tell you now.
The boy shows another picture to Sadhu. It is a picture of the solar system. The sadhu smiles and
No.
says no with gestures.
One day you will realize it from your life.
The boy shows a picture to Sadhu. It is a picture of a tea set with a cup of tea and biscuits. Sadhu says no with gestures.
No. We all want our needs to be satisfied. But there are people who go to great lengths to manipulate others to get what they want. Frequently, such emotional impact is hidden and looks like a kind gesture. But if you learn how to recognize the main manipulative methods. You will never become a puppet's marionette.
The boy shows a picture to the sadhu of a mask. The sadhu says yes with gestures. The boy thinks and nods his head.
They will play the victim. They will use aggression and intimidation. They will downplay your accomplishments. They will guilt you into thinking everything is your fault.
The boy thinks seriously. He stands quietly. The sadhu continues.
They will use triangulation, devaluing, shaming. They will use monopolizing conversation and brainwashing.
The boy smiles and shows a picture to Sadhu. It is a picture of a heart shape in red color. The sadhu
Of
smiles.
course, unconditional love is great, no doubt about it. But one day you will realize what I told you now from your life.
The sadhu falls asleep on the bench. The boy thinks. The boy puts the sketchbook back into his bag. The boy takes out his flute and plays more music. The sadhu wakes up.
Well, you might have heard the phrase Mata, Pita, Guru, Deva.
The boy nods his head to say yes.
When they say Mata, Pita, Guru, Deva, what they are just saying is mother, father, teacher, and divine. But understanding this in the right context is very important.
The boy holds up his sketchbook and shows it to Sadhu. It is a picture of an academic cap. The sadhu says no with gestures.
No,
The boy puts his notebook down.
when they say Mata, Pita, Guru, and Deva, they are just making a statement about the natural process of life. They are suggesting the order of life. If your journey is a journey of consciousness, mother first, then the father's role, then the teacher's role, and then the divine.
The boy listens carefully.
First comes the mother, Mata, who gives birth to the child, thereby bringing us a child into this world. At that point, when you need to be breastfed, hugged, kissed, and nurtured. The mother is the thing. I do not think it needs to be said. Next comes the father, Pita. Once the child begins to walk, the father becomes important because the father has an exposure to the outside situations. Look at it from today's context. In the old days, the father was crucial if a child had to learn about the world, the skills of life, and how to be in society. But in today's context, mothers are also contributing equally in the second stage. Once these things have happened, then to seek a higher possibility, a teacher is a must. The mother and father then takes us to the teacher, Guru. And it is the teacher, through his or her teachings, he or she points us to God, Divam. Here, God represents consciousness or self awareness, or our real self.
The boy shows a picture to Sadhu. It is a picture of a blooming flower. The sadhu says yes with gestures. The boy smiles.
But we should respect this process. Only if the mother nurtures well, the father guides well, and the guru needs well.
The boy shows a picture to Sadhu. It is a big question mark.
We live in a world where children are abused emotionally, physically, verbally, and sexually, sometimes by their own parents and teachers.
The boy thinks. The boy puts his notebook away.
So if the parents and teachers are wrong, they should be questioned and corrected.
The boy stands without any action or emotion. The sadhu and boy walk toward each other and hug. Scene 4. Same setting, years later. The sadhu is now an old man. He sits on the bench. He has put a scarf around his head to keep himself warmer. He looks at the audience and smiles. He thinks about coming to this bench. He looks beside him and thinks about the little boy he used to meet here. He smiles and looks back at the audience. He thinks about the little boy. He remembers their meetings. He indicates to the audience that the little boy has grown up. He has grown into a man. And now the little boy, who is a man, has gone away. The sadhu reflects and waves goodbye to his memories of the little boy. He thinks about those meetings on the bench and turns to the audience and smiles once again. He hears the sound of boy B crying in the distance. Boy B sits on the bench, still crying. The sadhu looks at him and thinks. He reaches into his bag. He pulls out a piece of bread. He offers it to the boy. The boy refuses it. The sadhu puts the bread back in his bag. He looks at the boy and thinks again. He reaches into his bag and pulls out his wooden flute and begins to play. The boy listens. But begins to cry again. The sadhu puts the wooden flute back into his bundle. He thinks again. He pulls out a bottle of bubbles. He unscrews the lid and pulls out the wand. He blows some bubbles. The boy watches. The boy is interested. He begins to poke the bubbles as they float near him. The sadhu continues to blow bubbles. The boy is entranced. He plays with the bubbles. The sadhu watches the boy's enjoyment. He offers the bottle of bubbles to the boy. The boy takes the bottle, reaches in and pulls out the wand and begins to blow bubbles. He laughs. The sadhu laughs. The sadhu takes out another bottle of bubbles and begins to blow bubbles with the boy. They both laugh and blow bubbles. They communicate with the bubbles. They are happy. Scene 5. Same setting. More years have passed. Boy A has grown into man A. He sits on the bench and plays a kazoo. He laughs. He hears the sound of a boy crying. He turns to look. Where is the boy? There he is. Boy C sits on the bench and cries. Man A opens up his backpack. He pulls out a bottle of bubbles. He stirs the wand in the bubbles and blows some bubbles. Boy C does not like the bubbles. He cries. Man A puts the bubbles away. He reaches into his backpack and pulls out his lunchbox. Opening it, he finds a piece of bread and offers it to Boy C. Boy C does not want the bread. He indicates he is not interested and continues to cry. Man A puts the bread back in his lunch bag and back into his backpack. He looks in his backpack and pulls out his kazoo. He plays a tune. Boy C is interested. He has stopped crying. Manet continues to play the kazoo. He stops and looks at the boy and offers him the kazoo. Boy C takes the kazoo, and the man pulls out another kazoo and teaches the boy how to play the kazoo. After he has taught the boy how to play the kazoo, he indicates that they should both play the song together. The Journey by Linish Balin, featuring Gideon Larete as the Sadhu, Spencer Mills as Boy A, Fergus Donnelly as Boy B, Neil Sudhir as Boy C, Samir Hamoud as Man A. Directed by Wendy S. Duke. Flute music composed and performed by Dred Scott. The Cato One Act Play Festival team: Reuben Ryan, Festival Coordinator; Brandon Meeker, Video Editor; Sarah Ralston, ASL Interpreter; Tessa Gaffney, Publicity and Promotion. This has been brought to you by the Center for Applied Drama and Autism and Theater on the Spectrum. Contact us on the web at centerforada.org, through email info@centerforada.org.